Hello, my name is Erin. I'm a professional copy editor who shares writing tips for the real world on my blog at erinwritewriting.com. Today's tutorial shows how to use the editor in Microsoft Word. The editor is Word's new spelling and grammar check and is currently available in Word for Office 365. If you're using an older version of Word or your spelling and grammar check looks different than the one shown here, please see my previous tutorial titled How to Use the Spelling and Grammar Check in Microsoft Word, which is linked below and in the information card. This tutorial covers 5 topics: how to select grammar issues and refinements, how to run the editor, how to review the editor's suggested corrections, how to finish the edit, and how to run a fresh edit. Let's begin by selecting grammar issues and refinements to include in the editor's check. First, select the File tab in the ribbon. Then, select Options in the Backstage view. Next, select Proofing in the Word Options dialog box. Note that if your editor pane is already open, you can access the Word Options dialog box by selecting Settings. Older versions of Word have an option in this section of the Word Options dialog box that says Check Grammar with Spelling. The new editor checks grammar by default, so you will no longer see that option. Select Grammar and Refinements, or Grammar, in the Writing Style drop-down menu. Most users will want to choose Grammar and Refinements because it offers more options. And then select the Settings button. Once the Grammar Settings dialog box opens, you can select or deselect the options you want to include or exclude. Currently, the editor can check for over 65 grammar issues and refinements, including popular options such as hyphenation, passive voice, Oxford comma, spaces between sentences, and cliches. Defining each grammar option is beyond the scope of this tutorial. However, the Microsoft Office support website provides a detailed explanation of most of the options, which I have linked below. When you're finished, select the OK button to save your selections and close the Grammar Settings dialog box. Back in the Word Options dialog box, ensure that Check Spelling as you type and Mark Grammar Errors as you type are selected if you want issues to be marked in the text as you type. However, always run the editor even if you choose to have spelling and grammar issues marked as you type, because you may not notice all in-text edits. Plus, the editor seems to be more thorough than the check provided as you type. Next, ensure that Hide Spelling Errors in this document only and Hide Grammar Errors in this document only are not selected. Finally, select the OK button to save your choices and close the Word Options dialog box. To run the editor, begin by selecting the Review tab in the ribbon. Then, select Check Document in the Proofing group. The groups in the ribbons shrink as options are added, so your Check Document button may look smaller than the button shown here. Once you've run the editor, you can select the category you want to review: spelling, grammar, clarity and conciseness, or punctuation conventions. Or you can select the Results button at the top of the editor pane to review all the suggestions in order of appearance in your document. For spelling errors, choose the suggestion from the list to change the error once. Or open the drop-down menu for the suggestion and select Change All to change every instance of the spelling error. You can also choose Ignore Once to ignore that spelling one time, Ignore All to ignore that spelling every time it appears in the document, or Add to dictionary to add the word with its current spelling to your custom dictionary. If the editor is unable to provide any suggestions, it will still let you add the word to your custom dictionary, ignore the word once, or ignore all instances of the word. For grammar issues, choose a suggestion from the list to change the issue once, or select Ignore Once to ignore that instance of the issue, or Don't check for this issue to stop checking for that type of issue in the rest of the document. You can also open the drop-down menu above the text box if you want additional information about the issue. Note that the editor will pause itself if you update the text during the check. Select the Resume button to restart the editor. If you have chosen to include readability statistics in your proofing options, the Readability Statistics dialog box will appear after you have accepted or ignored all the editor's suggestions. Select the OK button to close the Readability Statistics dialog box. When the editor is finished, a dialog box will appear stating that the check is complete. Select the OK button to close the completion dialog box. If you've updated your text since running the editor, you may want to run a fresh check. To begin, select the File tab in the ribbon, followed by Options in the Backstage view. Next, select Proofing in the Word Options dialog box. Then, select the Recheck Document button. A dialog box will appear stating that the new Spelling and Grammar Check, which is the editor, will recheck issues that you ignored during the last check. Select the Yes button in that dialog box, and then select the OK button to close the Word Options dialog box. Rerun the editor by selecting Check Document in the Review tab in the ribbon as shown earlier in this tutorial. Microsoft has indicated that it will add new or improved features for Word for Office 365 on a continual basis. Therefore, your version of Word may have more features than those shown here. I will make updated versions of this tutorial as necessary. The corresponding blog post for this video, along with many other writing tips, appear on erinwritewriting.com, which is linked below. Feel free to leave me a comment if you have a question about Microsoft Word or Adobe Acrobat that you'd like me to address in the future. And please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. Thank you so much for watching.